WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. Thank you for tuning to WVTC Radio Detroit and the Community Bell Show with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner, Edna Bell. Stay tuned for insightful information Detroiters will find valuable. Text a friend and tell them to watch with you for news you can use. And now, your host, Edna Bell.
Hi, I need you to unmute.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How are you? Good
How you
afternoon,
doing?
everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining the Community Bell Show on this wonderful Monday afternoon. It's a lovely day in Detroit, sunny, warm. Can't be much better than this. We are glad to have you with us. We have a young man with us today who you met probably over a year ago on the Community Bell Show in 2019 as he talked about folk who have been released from incarceration and some of the issues they were having and how he was trying to help them. And we're just glad to have him back with us today to give us an update on what's going on with the Innocence Project and how he's doing and all those kinds of wonderful things. I know he's got a beautiful daughter. I'll tell him that. It's a beautiful thing. He's got a beautiful young lady, little girl. But let's talk about the Innocence Project. We have with us Mr. Dwight Harris. Hello, Dwight.
How you
Welcome.
doing? Yeah, thank you.
I'm wonderful. Wonderful. So, the Innocence Project, some people have heard about it. They would have heard about it back in 2019 when you first came on. But let's give them another view of what it is for those who have not heard about it. Tell us what the Innocence Project is.
So, the Innocent Project is a project that deals with the wrongful convicted around the country. Innocent Maintain is the organization that was founded by Aaron Salter, who was formerly wrongfully convicted. And so when he came home a few years ago, me and him got together and established an organization that will help exonerees once they are released. Innocent Maintain has been doing a lot of engagement in community in the metropolitan Detroit area and meeting people and basically finding our way because in the excuse me, the Innocent Project was new at that time and nobody really knew nothing about it. And since then, we have been pounding the pavement with doing engagement with the community. And so what we're doing now, from trial and error, we realized that we needed a resource uh, manual, which we came up with a resource app. And what this app would do, we would have all the resources in this app that exonerees need to be successful upon release from prison.
Wonderful. So, the app is an addition to what you were doing before. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what does the app do? And how can people access it?
So what the app does, what we've learned in the last 2 years or more in dealing with all the exonerees that were released, we're having problems with housing. We're having reentry issues just like anybody else. But because they're exonerees, a lot of the reentry issues are they are adverse to the point of people putting them out. People want them to pay rent when they don't have money, and people looking for things from them that they don't have at that moment, which causes a lot of trauma when they already suffer trauma. So what happens is that they end up needing housing and needing somebody to help them along the way until they able to get their finances from the state for the wrongfully convicted. And so housing, we realize, is the gatekeeper for the wrongfully convicted because when they come home, everybody need housing. We want to kind of take away the need for other people to provide housing for them where their adjustment will be normal as opposed to having to fight with a family member and people trying to get things from them.
So, go back a minute and let people know what happens when these people come out of jail are innocent. They've been exonerated. Tell people the process of what happens with these poor people when they get out. What's the first
So,
step when they get out?
so one of the things that happen with the wrongfully convicted when they are released, they're already in contact with a bunch of lawyers and universities and a lot of investigators. They take um, they take a personal interest in a lot of those wrongfully convicted cases. A lot of them become personal with them, where they go visit them. They make sure they're comfortable doing the process, the legal process. And so once they come home to a group of lawyers and people that were supporting them, girlfriend, family members, and things, and the news and a lot of media. And so once they come home, the need at that point there is somewhere to go to be relieve themselves from all the anxiety of being released. But what normally happens is that they go home with the woman that they met while they was in prison, or a woman that they met once they came home. They find their way into a home with a woman that they just met.
Well, let me stop you. Let me stop you right there. So you're telling me that when they are released, they've been wrongfully incarcerated. The state institution releases them, and they just release them into the street. They don't provide a place for them to live when they come out.
No, they don't provide no place. So the MDOC does have uh, a part of reentry on Lawton that will help exonerees. Here's the problem. Exonerees don't want to have nothing to do with the MDOC no more once they're released.
Mm-hmm.
The MDOC do not have housing. What they have basically is what we already do. So it's like they're going to deal with the MDOC no more once they're released. So to try to get them to go get help from them, a system that they already don't have no faith in, it's like none of the guys would go if I asked them to go. But I'm the service, I'm the resource when they come home as far as ID, getting all the vital documents they need.
So you have a relationship. You have a relationship with MDOC.
We have a relationship with the MDOC.
Would it be possible, or was something we can work on to have the MDOC through you and your organization be the provider of that housing as opposed to MDOC, and have them do it through you so the guys don't have to go to them, they can come to you?
Yeah, so that's the goal. So here's the thing. I think what makes sense is this. When guys come home from prison, it's already a lot of anxiety and grief. Whether it's for what they did, or for what they didn't do. Whether it's the wrongfully convicted, I'm just speaking in terms of just the release itself.
Either way, they're stressed out.
Right. So here's the question, Ma. Why does a guy that was locked up for 30, 40, 25 years, however many years he was in prison, why do he have to have such a problem getting an ID when he was already identified? That's how he did the time, on the name of the person that he was. Why can't he get his ID before it come home? Okay, the question be why. So, Dwight, why should they get ID then? Why should they get their ID like anybody else? Because of the trauma. Because of all the things that a lot of guys have been through. A lot of them have problems doing the mechanics of going here, doing this, pushing the machine. They don't know nothing about technology. When I came home 10 years ago, I knew nothing. If I hadn't went to school and learned on my own, I wouldn't know nothing. A lot of guys don't go that route when they come home. It's like they in a time warp where they can't advance. They just right there. But they do have to live. They need to know technology. They need to know things, how to survive out here. But if you with one guy he's 50 years. He can't even hold the phone, man. It's hard because his mechanics, he have never had to hold the phone all years of being in prison. So we just saying that gap right there, it's a gap in services that mentors the guys when they come home to go the way they supposed to. No, we're not trying to hold their hand. We're not trying to enable them neither. But there's some services that's needed that can help, that can make the process work more smoothly as far as they reentry into society.
Okay, it just makes sense.
Right.
And so how do you help them do that?
So what we are doing now is with resources. So the whole purpose now of Innocent Maintained, which is founded by Ann Salter, the co-founder, is to use this app and put all the resources we need in this app. So what would the app do? We would have people that's from all the wrongfully convicted community all over the country. We're really talking about Detroit. We'll have everybody in there with all the resources. For example, Planet Fitness is a resource because it gives them somewhere to go once they come home. They don't have to figure out where they need to go to exercise. And most of the guys in prison was exercising. So can we provide a place for them to exercise, specifically the wrongfully convicted? So we provide them, Planet Fitness say yes. We would give them a membership for free, for no money.
Okay. So they need to know that.
So when they get their money, then they have to pay that, possibly become a lifetime member. They got. So this is the give back. Get the housing. So what we're doing with this piece is providing houses. And Salty is one of he was wrongfully convicted, and with his money he want to invest back into the city by getting the housing that's needed for the wrongfully convicted. And so with that housing, we will have programming in the housing. We'll have assessment. We'll make sure we have mental health tied to it. Most of the exonerees come home suffer from some sort of mental health.
Sure.
But it hasn't been, the disorder hasn't been seen. They haven't had no type of therapy. They haven't had nobody has sit down and talked and gave them therapy, and a lot of them don't want it. But we have to create a vehicle so they can get the therapy. And it can be created through the reentry, through the resources.
Now,
so
the app that you create, how will they know about the app? And who's going to train them how to use it? Because most of them have never had access to or had to use technology. So they're going to need some training just in that piece of it.
So that's another resource. The resources are all the things that's needed when they come home to be successful upon their adjustment. So we have that in there. We will have housing. So my interest was having Wayne County. Sure. So the conversation that I'm having with all the exonerees is this. What were we doing during the election, Ma? That was my thing. Were we involved in the elections? Most of them were. A couple was by way of me. However, I'm asking that all exonerees get involved with the city and to help and to be able to give back. So that's kind of our idea with Innocence Maintain, to become a supporter of Wayne County, because Wayne County is the entity that allowed them to get out through Ken Worthy office, et cetera, et cetera. So at Innocence Maintain and a lot of exonerees that's with Innocence Maintain, we want to support Wayne County. That's on the back end. We want to see where we can fit in at as an exoneree nation, the Innocence Maintain, how we can fit in and be supportive with the county, and to be able, and where the county can help us be able to help the exonerees. Okay.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Do you know about how many exonerees are out now? How many we're dealing with?
I would say I know it's over 20 exonerees, and from my understanding, Michigan, Detroit have more exonerees than any other city.
Yeah, Wayne County,
we have more exonerees, but the reason is because Ken Worthy have took an interest in it. After having a conversation with Ken Worthy, a lot of people had a misunderstanding of the prosecutor. And so now I'm just like explaining that we all need a prosecutor. We need somebody. If you don't have a prosecutor, you won't have no order. So we are understanding that her place with the Innocent Project, it was a milestone because most of the DAs around the country, except Mark Dupree in Kansas, were the only ones were willing to put their hand in the wrongfully convicted pot. Kim Worthy created a conviction integrity unit that's
Yes.
responsible for so many wrongfully convicted that have been overturned. And there's so many more. And as she said, she didn't believe so many people had went to prison that hadn't did it. It was unheard of. And another thing, Mom, when we was in prison, a guy coming in prison and he said he was there for something he do. We didn't believe it. You got, man, you lying. And I thought about it. Mom say, you lying. You can be lying, man. You ain't no way in the hell you in here for something you ain't do. So all the trauma that they had suffered for being in there for something they didn't do, and to find out that so many guys was in there for something they didn't do.
They really didn't do it.
Man, they really did. This from me talking to you. This how I said. I lived a life, man. I don't believe nobody when they go to jail. I believe they're lying if they say they didn't do it. But for me to believe, to see and to believe, I can't believe it. That somebody's life was really snuffed. Like this one guy said the other day, he say, I was talking to him, he was wrong, he just came home about 4 months ago. And I was saying, one of the things that we haven't paid it, everybody make a lot of people make, they are apologizing for a lot of the things that they done. But guess what? The family members were the first ones that turned their back on these guys. Some of the guys I know, they were in there for rape, man. Like kids. They raped them. Everybody on the street, I know he did it. I know he did it. I ain't do it, I swear. But because they had no direction, you know, they just ripping and running up down the street, they did it. Everybody believed it. They mama believed it, the daddy, sister, auntie, everybody cut them off. But to find out later, they didn't do it. So the apology never comes from the family. So we got the state apologize, we got the city council giving awards, all these, but the families. So what we do, we allow them to come home and go straight to the family, man. Where most of the problems happen at. So these
but
guys,
the family was the one that didn't believe them in the first place.
So that's why the housing is necessary, because they go straight back home to them. So now they say, oh, I believe you, baby. I know they was lying, but they lying. It's not true. Because once the court got finished with them, every world believed it. There's no way that he didn't do that. But to find out that he didn't do it, though. Another thing, man, when you talk about wrongfully convicted, a lot of people say, well, how do you know that they were wrongfully convicted? Most wrongfully convicted cases were DNA cases. So what do that mean? 20-some years ago, DNA became a thing. Everybody jumped on it. Yeah, that makes sense. But guess what? The DNA was flawed. They was contaminating the DNA, which meant that they were wrongfully convicting people based on the DNA analysis, the way that they was taking the sample.
Wow.
So people don't know that, though. People don't know that when that DNA came out, a lot of people went to prison for something they didn't do.
Okay.
Yeah, it ain't identification. It's the DNA. Yeah.
And it was wrong. It was incorrectly done. My.
And
These the ones that are in the process now of trying to get their lives together, they've been let out. How are we able to help them?
So what I do is most of the time I'm in contact with the lawyers that really, deal with them, and investigators, and they will refer them, or most of the guys come home are making their transition, they're meeting a lot of the other zoneries. And so we all meet at the house. We got a house in over here, like on the north end, my Innocent Maintain house. They did some documentaries on it before.
Where is it?
Maybe y'all can get it. On Longwood. It's on
Longwood.
It's on Longwood. I have to get the address to you.
Send me the address. Send me the
We got a
address.
house over there, and we want to take that house and use it as a resource. We want to tie in with the county to see what the county can help us, help us do with the house to make sense with these guys coming home. And we also, they want to make some investments in the county too, man. What
Okay.
makes sense. Yeah. So,
What kind of
yeah.
investments do they want to make, or do they know yet what they want to do? They need help figuring out what it is they want to do.
So let me give you an idea. Over on the east side over there where they made the Christ plant at, I
Yep.
have one exoneree. I have an exoneree that's from that area that wanted to buy a lot of commercial property and housing right there. And he wanted to make
Yep.
a mall. He wanted to make a food court mall over there.
Okay.
And we was going to development to try to bring some more people in over in that area to make it a living community. A community that people want to live in that's close to the plant.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that's one of the things that with some help and going into the development, that's something that we could probably do. Yeah. So that's kind of the
Okay.
ideas that they having. Yeah.
We'll talk about that. Now, how soon or how long does it take these men to get their monies when they get out?
So it used to take like 8 months to a year. And so
Okay.
Tony Wolf Mueller, who I work close with, have been working with the city and trying to find out how can they get their money earlier. That way they will have money they could be able to provide for themselves and alleviate a
Yes.
lot of the riffraff. And that's with
Yes.
attorney Lawrence Garcia is the one that we tried to. I don't know how far they got with that or what they're doing, but that's a process, man, because there's so many. The city, they couldn't pay all the money, the lawsuit money. It's so many guys. So at some point, we're gonna have to figure out. Yeah,
Where does the money come from? Does it come from the city or the state?
it comes from the state, but Lawrence Garcia is the one that actually makes the decision and the timing that they get their wicker money, which is the $50,000 that's given to them per year. That's the
So
first
it's
money.
50.
That's not the lawsuit money we're talking about. We're
Okay.
talking
So the
about
money.
the
This is the money from the state,
50,000 per year. So if they
and that's
did 20
50,000
years,
per year that they were incarcerated. Is that what that is? 50,000 per year they were incarcerated. Is that what they get?
yes,
And that
yes,
comes
yes,
from the
ma'am.
state. But the city, it comes from the state
Yeah,
to the
but by way
city,
of
and then to the exonerate. Is that it?
there you go, man. Because Lawrence Garcia is the one that approves the money, the wicker money.
Okay.
So we're trying to find out how can we expedite this. Attorney Will Mueller was reaching, and Pops, me and Pops, we were trying to figure out how can we expedite the money to alleviate all those burdens off of the exonerees with their
Yeah.
families and stuff like that. Because it's a lot of stuff going on. I had to talk to you up close. It's a lot of things going on with the exonerees that we can alleviate. It's a natural thing coming home like that. And you're going to go through it if you just
Absolutely.
go to the woods. Yeah. So
And even if they
it's
had
ugly.
some money, even if they had some money in their hand as soon as they get out, so they could
Yeah.
live until the other money comes, and then they
Right.
could pay it back.
Right. So for example, one of the exonerees that I've been working close with, I got his ID for him and everything. So he needed a home. He was having problems at the house with the people he came home to. So another exoneree gave him a house, tied in with the lawyer. So once he got his money, the lawyer cut his money for the months that he was there, and then he ended up buying the house. So it was a win-win. He got the money later,
Absolutely.
and he
Absolutely.
bought
Absolutely.
the house from him. So that's some kind of like where it kind of makes sense. And then
Yeah. Well,
they're selling houses, like the houses that they end up buying when they got their money, ma. These
uh-huh.
houses, they this big, but they paid this much money.
Well, we need to talk because I'm a licensed real estate agent now, and we've got to do right by these people.
Okay.
So we'll talk offline about how we can make whatever they buy the right thing worth the money. They just can't take these people's money.
Yeah. And then with that, ma, so like I say, my thing was I had real dialogue with them. I'll get millions and millions of dollars. At some point, y'all have to make investment in the city. I mean, it's your money. They
Mm-hmm.
did mess over you. Y'all have to make some investment with the city. So that's kind of
Yes,
where I'm at, man. Like, kind of tie in. Like, if they're coming, y'all want to come. I'm quite sure a lot of them want to do different things. I want to do something that makes sense, though. That's have
absolutely.
forever lot effect on our city based on this money that was given to them, and they reached back and helped us at the same time, So
Absolutely. And then
yeah,
it will be good for them because there'll be investment that they'll get money from now on off of. So it makes sense
right.
to do that. It makes
So
sense.
here's another thing, Ma, is that there's so many. It's a lot of different people trying to involve themselves in the innocent work, but they don't have a lot of the know how to just doing stuff. We need a one pipeline. Like, so Valerie Newman, let's see, we're having an award show at the
Okay.
yacht club on August 15th.
Okay.
And what we're doing is we're giving awards away to people that have been making impact in the innocent community here in Detroit. We did it a couple of years ago and gave awards to George Hunter, the writer, and some professors at Wayne State, thing. So this time we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna give some awards
Wonderful.
away. Aaron Saunders is gonna give the awards away, and I'm going to explain the app. So I'm just doing a
Okay.
thing, PowerPoint thing now, to go over what the app does, and it'll be a lot of the exonerees there, and gonna do some fundraising. I think Valerie Newman is gonna take the lead on with
The
and them
fundraising.
on their raising the fund for housing. We want to get strapped with housing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
housing
we
is
had to
going to,
talk a little bit
that's
more. That was
important. That's
yeah.
important. Finding a place for them to lay their head when they get out, I think is critical to them be getting their mental health come back because I know the mental health has to be a big piece of that too. So finding some mental health professionals
Right.
that will help them out.
So
It's,
that's
that's
another
got to
thing.
be
Like
critical.
I want to take all those resources, and put it in this app. Everybody that's willing
Okay.
to help, whatever angle that they want to come from, put them in the app.
Mm-hmm.
We're supporting Wayne County. We're support the commissioners, whatever they doing. That's the goal. I'm telling them we're gonna support Wayne County. Where we at? We're with Wayne County. That's the talk. We with
Okay.
Wayne County. How Wayne County doing? So we
All
reaching
right.
out to Wayne County. Wayne County help us in what we trying to do. Yeah. So
That will be just that's a wonderful idea. And it's going
yeah.
to help so many. It won't just help the retirees, but it'll help their families. I'm sure they've got children
Yeah.
that need to be helped in the same process. Their children probably need some mental health assistance also, and so that will help the whole family as you get them back on the street, so to speak. Find a place for them to live, and then find something for them to do because they just can't come out and do nothing. You've got to find some things for them to do, whether that means doing some volunteer work or whatever it is, but they need to be able to do something, not just come home. So when they come home,
So
do they have any skills? Does somebody give them a job until the money comes through? How does that work?
so to come So they shouldn't have that attitude, but this kind of the attitude. But some exonerees, there's a lot of jobs and a lot of trades that's offered to them. They're not taking them. I'm just being
Well,
honest.
do you know
They're
why
not
they're
taking
not
them.
taking them? Do you know why? No.
I feel like I'm just saying, I got $1 million coming. I'm potentially 15
Yeah.
million in 2 years. Nah, I don't want to do nothing. Listen, work. I mean, it's wise to do it. They're gonna figure that out later, but I don't want to do nothing. I'm
But how are they living though?
living at. So they getting these. That's another thing. They getting these. A lot of them get these advancements. They're getting advancements with to the money. So I would like to say, I don't want to just throw that out there. There's a lot of people in the legal community that's against them getting advancements because they don't want them to affect their money before they get it. The lawyers that will give an advancement, they're not giving a lot of the money to mess them up. So basically, they're not getting the money that they would want because they can't. They're not just throwing them out there like that. So which is good.
Okay.
However, they are supported by these girls they with. Their family members don't have no money. That started charging the rent after about 2 months because in their mind they should have some money right away. That's another reason why they shouldn't be in the houses with them at all. And they should be focused. And that way, man, we can get them in program if they in the houses that we have.
Yeah.
And they in the program that we have. It only makes sense for us to do it because we set a pathway for them. They don't have a pathway yet. It's just I'm home, I'm free. Hey, all the hoopla, all the media. I give me advancement. I try to make it every day, day to day, until I ate. I'm just saying. I don't know what to do. I get to 900 some thousand, you know. So that's kind of what it is. People sitting there wait. They like wolves. Can't wait to take a bite in them. And so if we put this resource, the app together, they don't have to go nowhere, man. They right here, everything they need, you know. And they need help on all levels, man. They got financial advisors.
Good.
I know a guy got a cook, man. They got all kind of stuff because I'm just saying, man, I got a.
Everybody knows the money coming, and everybody coming after them.
I ain't never had no. I don't know how to cook, man. They took me to jail when I was 16. I don't know how to cook. They took me to jail, man, when I was 16 years old. And then they gave me $1 million. What I supposed to do? I'm gonna hire me somebody to cook for me.
Yeah, that's we gotta find a way to help them think through it. Think through it in a way that's gonna make them successful through the years, not just get that money and throw it away right away. That's the piece. That's what I'm afraid of.
So I look at it like this, man. We got 10 exonerees that came home. They come through the housing. We do this assessment. We make sure they get all the services they need. We make sure they get mental health. Make sure they still getting their medication or getting medication. If they didn't get it, you may need some. We'll make sure they get their ID. That's another thing, man. We got to figure out if they coming from prison, give them their ID. I mean, for real. Just give it to them. They ought to have
it before they leave. The people in prison know who they are.
That's what I'm saying, man.
One of the things they get when they walk out the door is their ID.
That's mine. If we that helps the reentry. So if we can get that done, they is not lying. You can believe me, they not lying about who they are. You know, give them a state ID once they get out. Why would you send them home knowing who they are from a state institution and tell them to go to another state institution and figure out how to get ID. Most of them take too long to get ID because they never had an ID, man.
Sure. And now that the Secretary of State's offices are closed, basically, unless you have an appointment or unless you know how to do it on computers, and these people are not computer literate because they haven't had this technology, they're having a heck of a time trying to figure that out.
So in the app, this would make it work for us. We could go in the app.
You're breaking up, Dwight. You're breaking up. I'm losing you. Can you hear me? You know, Dwight is doing some great things as it relates to prisoner reentry. And the prisoners we're talking about in the Innocence Project are prisoners who were wrongfully put in prison. We're not talking about folks who, the folks who did what they did and they're in there, that's fine. But we're talking about people who were wrongfully convicted and put in jail for years. I'm talking about lots and lots of years. So we need to try and find a way to help them assimilate back into the world, learn how to use current technology, because many of them have been in so long. Cell phones were not big when they were in. Computers and all the other technology that we talk about that we take for granted every day is something that they have not done. They've not used. They don't know how to use it. And so we need to make sure that we can help them out. This is just one of my projects. I want to help these young people out who were wrongfully convicted. Their families have suffered, their children have suffered, and they come out and really don't know which way is up. So that's what the Innocence Project is. It is one to help those people who have been wrongfully convicted, are getting out of jail, who need ID, who need a place to live, who need health services, mental health services. They need some of everything, because when they get out, even though they were wrongfully convicted, they're going to get something all down the way. But when they get out with nothing. They have no place to live unless they go home to a family that sometimes has disowned them. They have nothing. And so that's what we're talking about. We're talking about helping these people get back into mainstream society, be a contributing member of society, and then turn their lives around. And on the same note, know that these people are going to get large sums of money. And we need to find a way to make sure that when they get that money, that they're not taken advantage of, that they're able to have some financial training so that they know how to use those dollars so that they can take care of themselves and their family into the future, and that they can invest back into our community. It is so important that we find a way to help them. And this is what Dwight Harris has been doing. This is what he is still doing. And we're going to try to find a way to help him do that. It is so important. So we're going to find a way to do that. This has been a really, really good conversation. We are glad that Dwight was able to come on today to talk to us about the Innocence Project and the app that they're trying to put together that will show all of the things that are available to these people who have been wrongfully convicted. As he said, they exercise while they're in prison. So one of the exercise companies is going to provide them with free memberships so that they can continue to exercise. At least they can do that much. And so we're hoping we're going to be able to find other places that will help out to get them back on their feet until they are able to take care of themselves. And we're not talking about charity now. We're talking about helping one another, helping the community, making sure that the community is a better place, and that the people who have been wrongfully convicted, have been done wrong, are righted. We're going to right size them. I think we're going to start calling it right sizing them, because that's what they need. This has been a great show. We appreciate their listening to us. We're going to begin to sign off now. But before we do that, I want to just go over a few words of wisdom with you. These came from a session that we had with the Women's Informal Network that honors women every year. It was the Women's History Month program. And I just want to share with you some things that those women live by. And one of them is know what you know. And know what you know means don't let anybody tell you what you know or don't know. You know what you know. Hold on to that. The other one is be prepared. Even if you are not sure where you're going, be prepared because you never know when somebody's going to come knocking. And if you're not prepared, you won't get that opportunity. So be prepared no matter what. Be intentional with what you do. When you're doing something, do it with a fervor, do it with intention. Be intentional and believe that you can. Because if you don't believe you can do it, nobody else will. So that will leave you with that. Believe you can because you can. This has been the Community Bell Show. I'm your host, Edna Bell, signing off. We are so happy to have had you with us today. We are so thankful to Dwight Harris for having been with us today, sharing the information about the Innocence Project and the new app they're putting together that is going to help those returning citizens who were wrongfully convicted. We're going to continue to follow up on that. He talked about a award ceremony that they're going to have in August at the Yacht Club, honoring people who have helped those young people who were incarcerated improperly. And we're going to follow up on this story. We're going to keep you informed about what's going on with the Innocence Project. Dwight Harris is going to come back later in the year and tell us what's going on because it's an important project. And we're just pleased that our own prosecutor, Kim Worthy, is one of those prosecutors who saw the need, took steps, and has done one heck of a job at providing information and providing services and providing people in her office to be able to help those people who were wrongfully convicted. So again, we thank you for joining us. This is Edna Bell signing off. You have a great week. We'll talk to you next Monday. Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to Community Bell with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner Edna Bell. This broadcast was brought to you by WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, tell a friend to tune in. We'll see you next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern to the Community Bell Show, right here on WVTC Radio Detroit. You're listening to WVTC Gospel Radio Detroit, and we're flowing in the Spirit.